Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to start with a quote. The ears of the leader must ring with the voices of the people. Great president once said that. Mr. President, I rise today to make it clear to everyone in this chamber exactly why I cannot support this legislation. You've heard the chants outside this chamber, not just today and last night, but many times over the past 2 years. Thousands of people have shown up, union and non-union, men and women, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, even their children. These are the working families of Michigan. These are the thousands of people that I would sit here to represent. When I vote no, I'm voting no on behalf of the thousands of families. Who are you voting yes for? Grover Norquist? I know he sent you all a letter asking you to support this anti-worker legislation. You are voting yes because a handful of corporate lobbyists, a handful of fat cats in the back are telling you to. That's who you work for, the powerful few, the guys with top hats and monocles. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I work for the people, for the many. I proudly represent them in casting this no vote. I'm doing what's right, what's good for the people. And I tell you this, Mr. President, we will fight you. We will not let this stand. We'll fight you from Kalamazoo to Timbuktu. We'll fight you from the streets and in the suites. We'll fight you in the penthouse and we'll fight you in the outhouse. And Mr. President, I'll tell you this right now, when it's all said and done, when it's all over, we will grab the thunderbolt of truth. We will grab the rod of revolution and we will have our victory. And the spoils will go to the working people of Michigan. And you will forever remember the day when you thought you could conquer labor. You were sorely mistaken. Be prepared to engage in the fight of your life. You might win this battle, but the wars are brewing, sir. The wars are brewing, sir. And we're coming, and we're taking no prisoners, and we're taking no quarter. And Mr. President, when all said is done, working men and women of this state will reign supreme. Thank you, and I ask that my comments be printed in the journal.
Hello, and welcome to The Young Effect. I am your state senator, Coleman Alexander Young II. Always a privilege to be here with you, but unfortunately today I bring news with a very heavy heart. Glenn Doss Jr., officer who was shot in the head, has passed away. He is survived by his son of 6 months, Eli. He was among the officers responding to a 10:30 p.m. call Wednesday from someone he believed to be the assailant, I'm not going to mention his name, in a domestic violence case at a home in the 5500 block of McDougal, near Interstate 94 and Shane Street. As officers arrived, Brooks was outside of the home, and the assailant was outside the home and allegedly fired at them with a weapon. Doss was a passenger in one of the patrol vehicles. He was rushed to Detroit Receiving Hospital by Officer Anderson and underwent surgery. Our hearts go out to him and his family. He is also a second-generation officer. His father served many years with the police department, as well as Glenn Doss Sr. So we will be praying for them and their family. Also, Barbara Harrod, well-known host right here at WHPR, also passed away. So we want to pray for both of them and their families. I think we will be giving out their funeral information throughout the show. So if I get any updates on that, I will let you know. But if not, it will have commercials that will be running after my program is over, so you get more information. So stay tuned for that information. For that being said, we're going to have a very special moment of silence for those two. They were close to our heart. And like a great man once said, man should not aspire to stand on top of the world, but should stoop down and lift mankind higher. And that is the life that both of these people have led. So please join me for a moment of silence for them. And also, you see a police officer, you see a firefighter, you see emergency service personnel, thank them for their service because they redefine what a definition of a hero is. Because usually heroes are people who save folks they know or their family members or someone they care about or close to. Police officers and firefighters are heroes because they save people they don't even know. When they run, most people run away from danger. They run towards it. Whether it's a hail of gunfire, a burning building, or whether it's saving someone's life who's near death. We want to say, or being first on the scene to arrive to save someone's life from near death. We want to say we love you, we appreciate you, we thank God for you. This city wouldn't be what it is today without our bravest and our finest. Please join me in a moment of silence for the fallen. All right, thank you for that. That being said, we got the numbers right here. Now, we only have one call line that's operating today. One. We are only in one call operating line, and the number is 313-365-7379. You can see it right here at the bottom of the screen, 313-365-7379. We one-hit wonders today. You got one calling line. So calling again, 313-365-7379. We got a caller right now. Call in. Hello, caller, you on the Young Effect. You got a question, comment?
I need good afternoon. I'm so excited that the sun is shining. It is a good afternoon. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, sorry to hear what happened to her.
Turn your TV down. I can't hear what you're saying. And speak into the phone. Hello? Can't hear what you say. We got another caller? Caller? Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Hey.
Yes. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Real good. Look here. I just walked in the door speaking about the passing of two people. Could you repeat it? I'm going to hang up and listen off the air.
Okay, no problem. I'll talk about no problem. Thank you for your call. I was talking about the passing of Barbara Harrod, who is the host here, WHPR, as well as Glenn Doss Jr., who is second-generation police, who passed away due to a gunshot wound to the head. He leaves behind and survived by his son Eli of 9 months. I just thought it was just tragic that this young man lost his life. He had a young family. He was only 25 years old. And for his life to be snuffed out like that, I think it's just terrible. But it just goes to show you what kind of risk our police officers deal with on a normal day basis. Every time they leave the house, they don't know when it's going to be the last day they leave. Every time they go out there and they fight crime and they keep people safe, they don't know if that's the last time they're going to fight crime. Every time they kiss their family goodbye or hold their child, they don't know if that's going to be the last time they do that. I just thank God that we have men and women who are willing to risk their lives for our safety and well-being. It really just speaks to the character of who that person is and the honor and valor and dignity that these men and women all have as police officers and the responsibility and burden that they carry. And it just lets us know that safety and peace of mind comes at a great cost. And I thank God that we have men and women of character like the Detroit Police Department who are willing to pay the price for that. Another call? Another caller? Caller?
Hey, Senator Coleman, Jordan.
Hey.
How you doing today?
Good.
Stacey Thunder Coleman Young Jr. The shooting need to stop.
Yeah.
They need to stop killing these police officers, start killing each other. Because the reason of, if you don't have a job and you have problems, this and that, try to seek the counseling, try to talk to the Lord upstairs and everything. Don't be playing crazy once you get caught. You do the crime, you're going to do the time. Death penalty for him.
Well, we don't have the death penalty in this state, but I definitely think that they are going to be prosecuting him to the fullest extent of the law.
And also, State Senator Comey Jr., I know that you have different candidates that's coming into the market. Brenda Jones, both of the, what's called a son, Kanye's son and great nephew is coming into the race.
Only person I know that's running is Coleman Young Jr.
Well, Comey Young Jr.,
I like that guy.
You could wipe him off the map.
Yeah, I like that dude.
You can't underestimate anyone.
No.
You don't have too much to worry about, especially with John Kanye's Jr. Son, because he got crazy Monica Conyers behind him.
Well, listen, I'm not here to talk about anybody else but myself. If they want their names mentioned, they can buy some time on WHPR. You know what I'm saying? But until that time, I'm here to talk about what I want to do, and I also just, not to cut you off, but I just want to say, unlike anybody else in this race,
and you have high intelligence, and you care about the people. You care about the whole 13 district, and you can't be bought.
It is. Unbossed and unbought.
Remember that.
My back ain't bent and ain't meant to be ridden.
No campaign but God. And
That's
if
right.
you have some big mouths that up there running off their mouths, talk about Coleman do this, Coleman do that. Coleman, like they said, old school, cut them off at the knee and kick them to the curb.
There it is.
Because you're going to have to do things, Coleman. If you seriously want this 13th district,
yep,
you're going to have to make major changes. Friends, so-called friends, fair weather friends, you kick them to the side, Coleman.
Yep. Already done.
I don't care if they're old and you say they love, everybody love you. No, that's a lie there, Coleman. Everybody don't love everybody.
That's true.
So you might as well start putting that up right there, start letting people know everybody don't love you. Because some people, all they do is bring negativity to you. I don't have negative people in my life.
No.
I even don't cut off family members that was negative to me. We don't even talk because I want to live a good life and I want to go to heaven.
There it is.
So you're going to learn that, Coleman.
Yes, sir. I learn it now.
Your heart is probably pure in certain ways, Coleman, but you're going to learn how to cut these old, wicked people out the way, and young ones, too. Listen to your mama, because your mama is a blessing from God.
Yes, she is.
All mothers are blessings from God. Even now, the mean ones, no. They're of the devil. But the ones always talk like godly, this and that, and don't try to push people down and try to uplift things. Because Detroit is going to come back, but we need for people to stop hating on each other.
Absolutely. We got to start loving each other. We got to start unifying and coming together, brother. I totally agree with you. 110%. Unify with each other in terms of how we talk to each other, in terms of how we treat each other, and unify with each other in terms of small business, too.
Color don't have nothing to do with it, because when you die and when you go to heaven and you stand in front of God and Jesus, the spirit is colorless. And
absolutely.
We want to stand next to a black man, white man,
well, listen, brother.
or whatever.
I love you. I appreciate you. I can talk to you about this all day long. I got to keep it going. I just want to say thank you so much for your call. I'm always better for it when you call on the air. Love you, my friend. You be good. Now, look, I just wanted to say, also I didn't get to mention this point. I just want to say, look, man, I got a 12-year record. I've passed historic civil rights legislation, making sure that pregnant women receive mandatory paid leave in the public and private sectors. I've also passed legislation involving energy cost recovery. I've passed legislation creating 10,000 jobs through the movie tax credits industry. And I've passed legislation regulating the medical marijuana industry. I've passed legislation appropriating $500,000 to Charles H. Wright Museum, $2 million to keep Focus Hope open, $6.8 million for Heat and Eat, which that's money for low income heating and energy assistance. No, low income energy and low income food assistance, excuse me. And I also passed legislation allowing us to draw $6.8 million, allowing us to draw $300 million down from the federal government. I've also passed legislation reducing property taxes to help people stay in their homes. So these are things that I have done throughout my career, which has had a major impact on the way in which people live and have made people's lives significantly better. And I'm proud of that fact, and I will continue to do that when I am in Washington. And I got the best record and the most accomplished record out of anybody in this race. Hands down. So if you look at somebody that not only is going to make change, but has the track record experience to do it, vote Coleman Alexander Young for Congress, 13th District. The other caller? Hello? Oh, I thought you had one. So like I was saying earlier, I also want to talk about this really quickly as well. Before we begin, I want to talk very briefly about what I think needs to happen in terms of helping people in the city of Detroit. One, I think we need to invest in our infrastructure, particularly in our water infrastructure. I think it's a shame before God that we live in the most wealthiest country on earth and you got people who don't have access to clean water. We got to invest in the Water Infrastructure Finance Innovation Act. Make sure that's fully funded and make sure that we have a trust fund that is shielded off from anybody taking money and can't be diverted and can't go to any other purpose except for the purpose of investing in our water infrastructure. Our wastewater infrastructure systems is very vital and important. We also got to make sure that we invest in our airplane infrastructure. I think we need to make sure we have more money from the Airport Improvement Program grants, and we also need to make sure we have a trust fund that's dedicated directly to airport improvement funds, and we need to update the next generation system for our next generation system for our air traffic control system. That's something that's very important. And I think that we're going to do long term in order to make sure, as well as have public-private partnerships to make sure that we can have the airport of the 21st century. We need to update our ports, and we need to make sure that we have more representation in terms of jobs. Do you know that longshoremen are one of the few jobs where you can make over, I think, $40,000 a year and stop it and not have to go to college? Or $60,000 a year, excuse me. Very important that we have representation. It's vital. It's critical. I also believe that in terms of our school system, we need to make sure that we have universal pre-K. We also need to make sure that we take care of college debt for people who are graduating. A lot of our young people right now are in debt. It is a shame before God that because you decide to chase your dream, you're in $100,000 or more of college debt. If you go bankrupt, you still can't get rid of it. We need to have tuition-free college, using money from Wall Street in order to pay for it. These are the things that we should be doing. We need to take advantage of the alternative energy industry. Wind, solar, hydroelectric, biodiesel, geothermal. That's heat from the core of our earth. These are things that we need to do in order to put people back to work. And we can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can have training programs. There's lots of training programs out there that we can use. And we need to fully invest in the workforce in the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act in order to make sure that the cities and states receive more workforce training dollars. As far as healthcare is concerned, we need to have more federally qualified health clinics. Because you have a lot of people who don't have access to quality care and got to drive halfway across town just to get to the local hospital. These are things that I think that we should be making investments in. We also need to do something, and I believe in the federal government. What I want to do is in terms of auto insurance, because it's regulated by the state, and I'm working on it right now as a state legislator in order to make sure that we get this done. I got a meeting right now up there with the director of OFIS, or no, DIFS. This is Department of Financial Insurance Services. In order to make sure that we come up with a solution to lower auto insurance rates. But as your United States Congressman, there is something in the United States Department of Treasury called the Office of Insurance. The Federal Insurance Office, excuse me. Where they analyze the markets of states that have auto insurance. Since auto insurance is a mandated product in most states to have. I think that through transparency, and I also think that through congressional inquiry, particularly on the issue of redlining, this is how we're going to solve this problem. Because even though it's regulated by the states, according to the McCarran-Ferguson Act, which is basically an act that was passed to, one, allow the states for regulation, but also allow the insurance companies to avoid antitrust law. The federal level. These are the things that I think through transparency, through openness, because the Federal Insurance Office of the United States Department of Treasury pointed out that there are a lot of places in low to moderate income households where they are paying excessive amount of rates for auto insurance, where price gouging is going on, where redlining is going on. This is a serious problem, and it needs someone with serious solutions. And so I think that if we work with them, I'm going to ask them to be able to ask them to put out and investigate what's going on in the city of Detroit's market and put out a report and make that report public. And then based on the findings of that report, if they say what's going on, what I believe is going on, I think we should have congressional inquiries. That means I believe that we should have the insurance companies testify in front of Congress under oath to ask them about the redlining that is going on in the city of Detroit. Because it's wrong. And we all know people out there that got to make a difference between, am I going to pay my auto insurance bill or I'm going to pay my lights. Pay my auto insurance bill, I'm going to feed myself. I'm going to pay my auto insurance bill, I'm going to feed my family. I'm going to pay my auto insurance bill, I'm going to pay my water bill. I'm going to pay my auto insurance bill, I'm going to feed my kids. I'm going to pay my auto insurance bill, or I'm going to buy prescription drugs for my grandparents. This is something that's going on every day. Every day. How many people do you know that have been locked up because they couldn't afford the auto insurance? They pulled them over, they asked them for their proof of insurance, and they didn't have it because they can't afford it. Or it expired because the only one they could afford was the weekly auto insurance. You know, you go out there, you pay, you know, for a little weekly auto, you know, so you can get the paperwork or whatever else. Auto insurance by the week. And the Department of Financial Insurance Services is trying to get rid of that. How many of you know went to jail or had their license suspended? So now they can't feed themselves or their family because they only got one car and that's their mode of transportation to get to work. I know a guy, when I was campaigning for mayor, I met a guy who worked at Allstate that was riding the bus. You know it's bad when the guys that work for the insurance company can't get a car because the insurance is too high. It's insane. It's insane. We got a caller? Okay. The number to call in, 313-365-7379. The number to call in, 365-7379. The number to call in, 365-7379. The number to call in, 365-7379. Now, we only are a one hit. We only got one line today that's open. One. So you trying to call in, you got to call in at 365-7379. That's the number you got to call in with. So that's basically what this is. So that's why I'm running. Running for Congress in the 13th district. I got a 12-year record. We got a caller? Hold on. Call you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. No, I'm sorry. Can I still call you Senator?
Yeah.
Okay. Senator Komiyan, I would like to, if it would be okay, can I make an announcement?
Yeah, you can make an announcement.
Yes, okay. For anyone that's 16 years old, 16, at Wendy's, 555, that's 2235, Woodward Avenue in Ferndale. The manager wants you to come up there, put an application in. You don't have to go online. They got the paper application. Want you to come up there, put an application in. They will interview you. If you're right, they will hire you right there on the spot.
Wow, all right.
And then the second one is that Family Dollar is hiring, and it goes up to $19 an hour. So go on to FamilyDollar.com on your Android, your smartphone. You don't have to go to no library. You can
That's
do
awesome.
it on your phone.
That's awesome.
And and I will be calling you. I think if you don't mind, would it be okay if when I get the jobs, because I do get a lot of jobs, and I just pretty much stop putting them out there. And, because I used to be the one to call next you. Would it be okay if I could put the jobs out? And
Yeah, you can call me and put the jobs out. We love you to call and put the jobs out. You could be like a little job shop or something like that. Yeah.
They call me job seeker over there. But anyway, okay, well, thank you. And listen, I need is your number still the, in fact, I'll tell you what I do. I already know your number. I'm going to call you because someone wants you to come on their show.
Okay.
And put your information out that you're running for congressman.
Okay, I love that.
Okay, all right, thank you. And tell your mother I say hello.
I most certainly will.
Okay, all right.
Take care now. All right. Got another caller. You on the air. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Big Senator Coleman Jr.
Hey, what's going on again, man? You done came back.
They need
You here. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And train them at the same time. Then they can weed them out which one will pass, which one won't.
Huh?
Some jobs, they should hire some of these people off the streets. Because some of these guys having women, they haven't went to college or anything. And they could have on-the-job training, and they could pay them. And then after 90 days, they could decide if they want to hire them in full-time or not, or 60 days.
Sure. However you could get it. Look, that's why. Look, I also think we need to expand apprenticeships as well. I think we need to raise the minimum wage. You know what I mean? So these folks who are working these jobs get paid, enough money to be able to feed themselves and their family. I don't see there's any reason why you working full-time and you can't have enough money to be able to feed your family and yourself. I think that's outrageous. So I definitely think we need to be able to do whatever we can, whether it be a transitional jobs program where we have job training, it's on the job training. I think that's something that's very important. So I totally agree with you 110%. because you got too much money flowing through right now. A lot of this area, particularly in the city of Detroit, got too much money flowing through right now, and not enough people that are working. We got to have more people that are working. Got to have more people that are out there. So I think that apprenticeships are good things. I think transitional jobs training programs are a good thing. So I totally agree with you 110% on that front. Hello?
Yes, Senator Young?
Yes.
Yes. Are you aware that the police officer passed today?
Yes, I am. I just said Mr. Glenn Doss Jr. I said that at the top of the program.
Okay, because I didn't see. I'm just now.
No, it's okay. Glenn Doss Jr., 25 years old, second generation. He is survived by his 9-month-old son, Eli. So, I just think that's terrible that he passed away. And, and I think that, it really just goes to show you what kind of men of character and honor and valor that we have as police officers, that they're willing to pay the ultimate price and give the ultimate sacrifice of their life so that we can have peace and safety and freedom here in the city of Detroit. And it really just breaks my heart to see this young man, this young 25-year-old man who had his whole life ahead of him.
Yes.
Had a child, had a family, you know what I'm saying? And for him to have his life snuffed out like that, I think it's just absurd. I'm not going to say the assailant's name because I'm not going to give him any publicity on television. But, I think it's just unfortunate.
Okay, I didn't know if you had heard about it or not.
Yes, I have. I heard about that, as well as Miss Barbara Harrod, who was a host here, who passed away as well.
That really tore me up because me and her, we were good friends.
Yeah, I thought that was terrible. You just never know how long somebody has on this earth. And you really just got to take advantage of all the opportunities you have in life because nothing is ever promised. It's really not guaranteed. You know what I mean? And you just got to treat people. You got to be careful of how you treat people, how you talk to people. You got to cherish people. You got to love people. And you got to respect people.
Well, okay. Well, I'm going to let someone else get in, and I'm going to finish listening to you talk.
Yeah.
And you all have a wonderful and peaceful rest of the weekend, and have a safe weekend, okay?
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Love you, preacher. We got another call? Okay. And so, like I said earlier, I just think that this is something that is really unfortunate, and it's not quite the same thing. But as a state representative, I remember listening to the issues of Tisha Prater, who was a police officer who had to literally, because of an arbitrary ruling, where a man who I think he hurt his foot or something of that nature, he didn't receive paid leave. It was a pregnant woman who did. They complained about that, and so as a result, they took away the paid leave for pregnant women. So you had women who were literally showing up to work, who were wearing body vests and covering up their pregnancies because they didn't want to have to receive mandatory unpaid leave. And that's what they were getting. So the thoughts that went through my mind of pregnant police officers who are chasing perps, God forbid if they trip or fall, or if they catch a perp and the perp punches them in the stomach, just the aftermath of that and the emotional and psychological fear and terror that they must go through and feel every time they go to work. Because this is happening while they're carrying another life inside of them. I felt that was wrong. I felt it was despicable, and I believe that the Detroit Police Department deserved better than that. The women who worked at that department deserved better than that. And it was kind of just a serendipity because what happened was it ended up expanding. So it ended up going from the police department to all the public and private sectors. And that's really how that law came about. I made a call to Tisha Prater, and, we got her to testify. We got a whole bunch of other people to testify. And I remember when it was over, one of the policy analysts coming up to me and saying, after it was done, he said, man, this is the best thing I ever worked on. And it was unique because we got two sides who were really, opposed to each other, who really can't find common ground on anything, which was the pro-life and the pro-choice community. which, you know what I mean, they can't find common agreement on anything ever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know that's one of the most political dividing fault lines of our time. So when it first came out, they were saying that this is something when we first started doing this, the pro-life community came to me and was saying that this is something that's going to affect, women and abortion and this and that. And I'm like, this isn't going to affect abortion. No one's even talking about that. What are you saying? And they're saying that, because you would give them paid leave if they decide to have an abortion or stuff like that, you were paying for it or something of that nature. It was really just outrageous, I thought. But I'm like, that's not what we're trying to do. That's not what this is. And so then we was going to ask my members to protect them, because even though we were in the majority at that time as Democrats, you know what I mean, there were a lot of people who were in the caucus who were pro-life. So, because we're a big tent party, Democrat Party. So, I kind of had to navigate that. And when I was trying to reach out to the pro-life people, the pro-choice people were just threw their hands in the air like, well, if you do that, then we're not going to support this and we're going to leave you on your... I mean, this thing almost didn't happen. No one fell apart. And then we kind of talked to each other and we kind of brought both sides together and we worked something out and we made some changes to it that they all could agree on. And then we passed it. And it passed overwhelmingly in the House. There were a couple people who voted against it because NOW was against it. That's the National Organization for Women, who were against it because they didn't have some problems. They thought it didn't go far enough. They had some problems with it. And, I was like, you can't win them all. You know what I mean? I understand what you're saying, but I have to do this for these pregnant police officers who are hiding their pregnancies because they don't want to take mandatory unpaid leave. Because how they going to feed themselves and their families when they having this child? You know what I mean? So I'm like, I respect your differences, or respect what you're trying to say. And we ended up getting it done. We ended up, sitting right there and at the signing desk with the governor. And we had it was Governor Granholm at the time. And we had, people from pro-life and for pro-choice. You had Right to Life. And you had ACLU, Planned Parenthood, all right there. So this was probably, I think, in my second term, if I'm not mistaken. So I was probably 24, maybe at the time when this went down. I think 23, 24, somewhere in there. I got elected when I was 23. It's probably somewhere in that margin. So that passed. That was a real good thing. I'm trying to see. Yeah, no, because that was probably one of the highlights of that year. I also, the thing about auto insurance is I passed the bill out of the House for auto insurance reform. We were in the majority, and at that time, Barb Byron, who is now she's now the clerk for Ingham County, but she was the chairman and I was the vice chair. And wait, I don't think I was a vice chair. I don't think well, maybe I was. So anyway, I was vice chair. So vice chair, we're sitting here, and at that time, wait, Lord, I was stop yelling at me, man. Come on. At that time, Butch Hollowell was hired by Jennifer Granholm to be the insurance advocate for the state of Michigan. And so we were working together with him and a couple other people to be able to come up with reforms to the no fault system and the auto insurance system. Now, we control the House, but the Republicans control the Senate. So we were working on this proposal, and there were numerous proposals that they had. And the bill that I had was specifically to say one that an auto insurance company could not raise your rates without having a public hearing and telling the community why they're doing that. So there was actually an opportunity for them to be where they had to speak in front of the public and be held to account by the public every time they wanted to raise your rate. So that was the bill that I had. You had a couple other bills in terms of actually lowering auto insurance, in terms of increasing the amount of mini tort that you receive. That's money you receive if a car hit you and they were more than 50% negligible in that accident. You know, they had something called mini tort. So there were other such policies. One was to make the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association, that's the money that you pay into the fund if you're catastrophically injured and they pay your claim. That would make that open to the Open Meetings Act, because right now it's not. And that whole entire board is ran by the insurance companies. So the money that you are mandated by law to pay into the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association, the people who are paying those claims out, that's all decided by the insurance companies. And because of a recent USF&G decision, they are now a super claims adjuster for those payouts. So in other words, now not only are they paying them out, now they decide whether or not they're going to pay those claims out or not. That's a whole nother layer that we need to fix in terms of no fault. So these are things that, but that was before. But that was way after what we're dealing with, where I was at this point. So it was me, and it was a couple of other legislators, and we got together and we introduced this bill, and we introduced these bills, and it passed the House. And you know what's funny? It barely passed. Even though there's a Democratic priority, it barely passed the House. Because you had guys who were you had Democrats who were iffy about voting for this stuff. Because they had insurance companies who had supported them. You know what I'm saying? And so they're like, I don't know, I don't want to support this. I mean, we had, I'm trying to think, we had maybe like a 58 majority. You know what I'm saying, at that point? No. It was, no. It was my second term. So we had like we have over 60 majority. I think it was like 68 majority. And that bill passed by 56 votes. There were 60 of us. And the bill to reform all insurance in Detroit passed by 56 votes. Then it went over to the Senate, and it was a guy by the name of Alan Sanborn, and he was just death on any sort of major reform whatsoever. Ultra conservative guy. I think he used to be a corrections officer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he was a prison warden, but I think he's a corrections officer, if I'm not mistaken. So, shout out to corrections officers. That's another extremely difficult job. We thank God for what they do and what they sacrifice. I mean, the stories that I've heard is unbelievable. I'll talk to you about that a little bit later. But, so I'm going into his office, right? And I'm talking to him. And have you ever been in a situation where it just felt like you were entering into a black hole? Like, it didn't matter what you did or what you said or how you fought. Like, all of your real dreams and desires just go there to die. That's kind of what it felt like. I mean, I'm not saying that about his personality or who he is as a person, But just when it was talking about what I wanted, what I really wanted for auto insurance, I just knew the serious reforms that need to be made in order to make a difference was not going to happen. And so we were talking about like fraud and, low-hanging fruit, because what I really wanted to talk about, I couldn't get. And the chairwoman had talked to him, and they had like some intense verbal fellowship, okay? Like they were not getting along. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, these things need to happen. And I'm not going to talk until these things happen. And that's how she was. I got a phone call. We got some calls. Okay. Calling you. What? What? Oh, he hung up. All right. So, call back 313-365-7379. We got a call? Hello? Caller?
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, this is Belinda. Can you hear me good?
Yes.
Okay, hello to you. And this is what I like to say. Now, because it has always been bothering me, because history repeats itself, is that, my oldest daughter will be 49 this year.
Okay.
So I was raising my children when I was making $2.25 an hour.
All right.
Which we do know that the wage needs to increase because
Right.
it's not going along with how much things are costing now.
Right.
I bought the first brand new car I ever owned was in '98. Okay, I had AAA insurance. I was paying a car note and didn't have a problem. So I think that if I'm saying this right, I think we need to do the history of Detroit, and maybe we could find out where some of these things have started happening at. I was living in 48205 zip code, which was really the biggest precinct, probably still is, in the city of Detroit. But I was able to get affordable insurance through AAA. Okay, I also look at the school system. During the time when I was coming up, there were a lot of people who didn't want to pay for taxes for schools because their children were going to private schools.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like now some of those same children that were in those households, that were listening to what their parents were going through, I believe a lot of these are the ones who went for charter schools, trying to make it right for their parents because they felt like it was wrong during that particular time. So basically what I'm saying, maybe if we go through the history of Detroit, when our parents migrated from the South, and even so those same homes that they purchased back then, those homes are now up for foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we might be able to find out why we have this problem. Because it just bothers me that in this year, here it is, 2018, and people are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And the money is not making up, getting close to what people can live and be, comfortable.
Well, in terms of you talking about in terms of depopulation of the city, I mean that really started after World War II. I mean when you had a lot of factories that were moving out of the city, a lot of factories that were moving and disinvesting from the city of Detroit, and as a result, a lot of jobs that were leaving as well. Then you had the freeways that were built through the 1956 highway Act that not only built freeways through the middle of the city, but also built freeways through Black Bottom. So
that's true.
One of the more predominantly economic black powerhouse.
See, what I'm trying to say to you, remember, there were more whites living in Detroit. Okay, they had car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But now people in Detroit can't even afford insurance.
Mm-hmm. But a lot.
So this is why I'm saying, for what's going on now, there's something that's in between what we're looking at that can be the reason why it's happening the way it is. Because, like I said, people were having insurance then. But as soon as the population got to another color, okay, then all of a sudden people can't afford it.
Well, let me explain it like this. So you really start having white flight, really. You know,
Yeah.
you had it first when you had it with the after World War II, but then after the riots took place, that's really when it started accelerating. Auto insurance, no fault. What happened here was the fact that you had something when they passed auto insurance, no fault. When they first passed it, they ruled, the Supreme Court judge ruled it unconstitutional because they had not had a mechanism in order to make it affordable in the urban areas. And so they gave them, I think, it was a Shavers v. Attorney General decision. And so they gave them about 16 months in order to fix it. And what they came up with was the Essentials of Insurance Act. And basically that act had caps and limitations that one rate couldn't be, I think, about 45% higher than another adjacent rate or, across from it. And basically had rate caps in terms of how much rates could be. Mm-hmm. So the rates in the city wouldn't be that excessive. About 1980, make sure I get this right. 1986, you had 3 insurance companies, major auto insurance companies, that complained about the rate caps in the Essentials of Insurance Act. So what the legislature decided to do is, okay, we're going to suspend those caps, and we're going to, because not only were they rate caps, but they also limited territories. So they still had territories. That's where you're charged based on where you live, or your rate is charged based on where you garage your car. Mm-hmm. They limited it to 20. They said we're going to suspend not only the rate caps, we're also going to suspend the amount of territory. So you could charge, you know what I'm saying? So you could charge basically on whatever method you could use to make the charge you want to make. Or you can charge what you want, really, with what you think the market will allow. And you can use as many different territories as you want. Okay. That took place from about 1986 to about 1992. That's why you had auto insurance rates at Redline that was going on like it was, because they almost completely deregulated the auto insurance system. Then in 1996, in 1992, the rate caps came back and the limits on territories came back because it was a sunset, meaning that it's only a certain amount of days or a year or however certain amount of time before that law expires. Like it's like you know when you get a license, your license expires on your birthday. Same type of process with the law. So it expired in 91. They renewed it for 92. Expired again. And then in 1996, John Engler decided we are going to permanently eliminate the part of the Essentials Act, Insurance of Essentials Act, which says that we're going to cap rates and limit territories. Mm-hmm. And that's why we got the system we got now.
Okay, well, let me just say this.
That's how all that started.
Okay, now let me say this here. Okay, now when I had AAA insurance, okay, I had an accident, but it wasn't my fault. And so I didn't go along with what they were saying. So then they told me this. You know what? Since you've been with us for so long,
well, listen, you gotta pen with you. You got a pen with you.
I can't hear you.
You got a pen? Yeah, let me give you my number. I want you to tell all your business off on television. Let me give you my number. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, call this number. 517 373 7346.
Okay, let me repeat it back.
517-373-7346. Yes, ma'am. That's Answer Jewel. She will be back this week. And she will call Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
Okay, what is her name?
Jewel. Jewell Gillespie.
Okay, I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you, dear. You know I love you.
You know I love you back. Mwah. Thank you. Appreciate you. We got another caller? Okay. So, when we were going through this whole process with Alan Sanborn, I'm sitting in the room, you know what I'm saying? And then as we started talking, elections came up. And so he was saying, well, you know, depending on the election to see how we're going to work with you or whatever else, what have you. Well, you know, that was 2010. So, you know, Democrats got wiped out in 2010. I mean, you know, I went from being 60, I think it was 67 something strong in the House to being 12 in the Senate of 38. We were 67 out of 110 people to 12 out of 38. Just think about that for a minute, like the drama of that, the drop off of that. When you riding the highest high, and then you go to the lowest low. We not just in the minority, we in the super minority. That's where we were at. And so as a result, the bill didn't go anywhere. And the rest is history. We got another caller. Call, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect. Hello.
Hello, how are you? It's Brenda.
Hey, Brenda, what's going on?
Hey, I'm so glad you're talking about auto insurance, especially since we had a conversation just last night about auto insurance.
Yeah.
But I know your time is short, so also the other conversation about pregnant women. I'll tell you a story. When I was pregnant with my daughter, you couldn't tell I was pregnant, though. And I had my daughter on a Thursday, and I went back to work on Tuesday.
Wow.
Because I knew I could not afford to be off at least 6 weeks. And it was just lucky nobody could tell I was pregnant. And the reason I went back on Tuesday is because Memorial Day was on Monday, which gave me an extra day.
Wow.
And this is how we had to live. I know a lot of women who were pregnant and hiding it, you know, putting on big shirts and that. I didn't have to do that. And I know my daughter was a year before my employer because I had come home from college and then went back to college. And it was the next year when my employer even found out I had the baby on his time.
Well, listen,
and because of you, people don't have to live that way.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely. And let me say this too. That's also why we need paid medical leave and paid sick leave. So if you got people who are like your situation and having children, they shouldn't have to worry about being able to have the money necessary in order to be able to live and feed their child and take care of whatever else they need to take care of.
Thank you, Coleman.
Love you and appreciate you. Thank you. All right, love you, appreciate you, take care. Okay, I think that's my time. Remember, nobody cares how much you know until you know. We gonna have you come on the show next time. That's what we gonna do. You come on the show, Miss Calvert. You coming in, taking over. Yelling at the screen.
How are you?
Can't never have a right program. Listen, I'm your state senator, soon to be your next congressman of the 13th, Coleman Alexander Young II. We'll see you next time right here on The Young Effect.